I checked my phone during my lunch break and saw the alert. Account balance, $0. My stomach didn't drop. My hands didn't shake. I'd been expecting this for 3 weeks, ever since my mother had casually asked if I still used the account at First National Bank, the one I'd opened when I was 17 with her as the joint account holder. I'd said yes, knowing exactly what was coming. Now, sitting in my car outside the courthouse where I worked as a victim services coordinator, I opened my banking app and confirmed what the alert had told me. The account that had contained $247,350.82 was now empty. Completely drained. The transaction history showed a single transfer this morning at 9:47 a.m. Transfer to external account, $247,350.82. My mother had finally done it. I took a sip of my iced coffee, pulled up my contacts and found the number I'd been given 6 months ago. The one I was told to use only in emergencies. I typed out a text, "Activate Operation Blindside." The response came within 30 seconds. Confirmed. Stay put. Do not contact family. Units mobilizing now. I finished my coffee and went back inside to my afternoon meetings. The account wasn't actually mine. Well, legally it was. My name was on it, I had full access, and I'd been the one to initially open it 15 years ago with $200 from my first job. But the money inside hadn't been mine for the past 14 months. It belonged to the United States Treasury Department. Specifically, it was a covert evidence account used in an ongoing federal investigation into a massive embezzlement and money laundering operation. I was the confidential informant who'd helped set up the account as part of an elaborate sting operation targeting my former employer, Prestige Financial Group. My role had been simple: create a seemingly normal savings account, allow the suspects to use it as a pass-through for laundered money, document everything and ensure the funds remained secure and traceable. The account had cycled through over $3.8 million in the past year, with each transaction carefully monitored and recorded by federal agents. The current balance, the $247,350 my mother had just stolen, was the culmination of 3 months of carefully tracked deposits from 6 different shell corporations connected to Prestige's CEO Richard Vance. That money was evidence in a case involving wire fraud, money laundering and conspiracy charges that would likely result in decades of prison time for everyone involved. And my mother, in her infinite wisdom and complete ignorance, had just stolen it. I'd known this might happen. Federal agent Lisa Kolsky had warned me during our last briefing. "Your mother has asked about the account 3 times now," she'd said, showing me transcripts of phone calls that had been monitored. "She thinks you're hiding money from the family. She's convinced you're hoarding savings while your father struggles with medical bills. She's always been controlling about money," I'd explained. "When I was growing up, she monitored every dollar I spent. She thinks because her name is still on the account from when I was a minor, she has the right to access it. Have you considered removing her as a joint holder? That would trigger suspicion. If you wonder why, better to let her think she still has access. It keeps the account looking normal and unsophisticated." I paused. "If she does take the money, what happens?" "She'll be arrested for theft of federal evidence, obstruction of justice and money laundering. The charges carry significant prison time." Kowalski's expression had been serious. "We'll try to prevent it, but if it happens, we can't protect her. This is federal money in an active investigation. The Treasury Department doesn't negotiate." I understand. And I had understood. But I'd also known my mother. She'd been building up to this for months, dropping hints about how I should be helping the family more, questioning why I had so much in savings when Dad needed help with his diabetes medication. I'd tried to deflect, but she'd become obsessed. 3 weeks ago she'd asked directly, "That account at First National, you still have it, right? The one we opened together?" I'd said yes because lying would have raised more questions. Now she'd emptied it and the consequences were already in motion. My phone rang at 2:47 p.m. "Agent Kolsky, your mother made the transfer to an account in your father's name at Community Credit Union. She then immediately withdrew $50,000 in cash and wrote checks totaling another $80,000. The remaining $117,350 is still in your father's account. Where is she now?" "At your sister Rachel's house. She's telling everyone that she taught you a lesson about family responsibility. Your father used $15,000 of the cash to pay medical bills. Your sister received a check for $25,000 that your mother claims is helping Rachel get back on her feet. So they're all involved now. Your father and sister have accepted money they believed was yours. When they discover it was federal evidence, they'll become witnesses. But your mother orchestrated the theft and will face the primary charges. When warrants are being finalized now, agents will execute them within the hour. Treasury Department investigators are already at First National Bank documenting the theft. We'll also be seizing your father's account at Community Credit Union. I sat at my desk looking at the victim impact statements I was supposed to be reviewing. What do I need to do? Nothing. Don't contact your family. Don't respond to calls or texts. Go home after work and wait. Someone will come take your statement this evening. Okay. Sarah, Kolsky's voice softened slightly. I'm sorry. I know this isn't easy. She made her choice. Yes, she did. My phone started exploding around 3:30 p.m. First my sister Rachel, then my father, then my brother David, then Rachel again. I let them all go to voicemail. Rachel's first message was confused. Sarah, call me. Mom's freaking out. Something about your bank account. The second one, 30 minutes later, was panicked. Sarah, the police are here. They're saying Mom stole federal money. Call me now. My father's message was barely coherent. Sarah, what's happening? Men in suits are at the house. They're saying your mother committed a federal crime. They're taking our computers. Call us. Please. David's message was angry. What the hell did you do? Mom's been arrested. They're saying she stole from the government? Are you serious right now? I saved all the messages and didn't respond. At 4:15 p.m. my mother called from an unknown number. I answered. Sarah. Her voice was tight with anger and fear. I get one call and I'm using it on you. What is going on? Hi Mom. Don't hi Mom me. I'm at the federal detention center. They're saying I stole money from a government investigation. They're saying the money in your account was evidence. It was. Silence. Then, what? The money in that account was part of a federal investigation. I've been working as a confidential informant for 14 months. That account was being monitored. Every transaction was documented. And you stole $247,350.82 from it this morning. You're lying. You're trying to scare me because you're mad I took the money. I'm not mad, Mom. I expected this. I warned the agents it might happen. They wanted to remove you from the account, but I told them it would look suspicious if the account holder suddenly changed joint holders after 15 years. So we left it as is, hoping you wouldn't actually go through with it. Sarah, this isn't funny. I'm not joking. The Treasury Department has been monitoring that account since last February. Every deposit, every transaction, every dollar was part of building a case against Prestige Financial Group. The $247,350 you stole this morning was evidence in a money laundering investigation. You've been charged with theft of federal property, obstruction of justice, and money laundering. Money laundering? I didn't. You took money from a federal evidence account and distributed it to multiple people through transfers, cash withdrawals, and checks. That's textbook money laundering, Mom. It doesn't matter that you didn't know the source. You took money that wasn't yours and dispersed it. It was mine. My name is on that account. Your name is on the account as a custodial joint holder from when I was a minor. You had no legal right to access or remove funds without my authorization. And because those funds were federal evidence, your unauthorized access constitutes multiple federal crimes. I could hear her breathing, fast and shallow. Sarah, you have to fix this. Tell them it was a mistake. Tell them I didn't know. I can't fix it, Mom. This isn't my case to dismiss. The Treasury Department is prosecuting. You stole $250,000 from a federal investigation. But I'm your mother. Yes, you are. And you stole from me, from what you thought was my savings, because you decided you knew better how I should spend my money. The fact that it was actually federal evidence makes it exponentially worse. Sarah, please. I have to go, Mom. Don't call me again. My attorney has advised me not to speak with you during the investigation. I hung up. My hands were steady. My voice had been calm. But sitting there at my desk, surrounded by case files of other people's traumas and tragedies, I felt the weight of what had just happened settle over me. My mother was going to prison. And I was the reason why. Agent Kowalski arrived at my apartment at 6:30 p.m. with another agent I didn't recognize. A severe-looking woman in her 50s who introduced herself as Special Agent Patricia Vance from the Treasury Department's Criminal Investigation Division. "Miss Chen," Vance began, settling into my living room chair with a thick folder, "I need to walk you through what happens next. Your mother is currently in federal custody. She's been charged with theft of federal property, 18 U.S.C. 641, obstruction of justice, 18 U.S.C. 1519, and money laundering, 18 U.S.C. 1956. Combined, these charges carry a maximum sentence of 50 years. 50 years. I repeated it, trying to process. She's 62. I'm aware. The sentencing guidelines suggest 15 to 20 years is more realistic, given that this is her first offense. However, the amount stolen and the nature of the evidence make this a serious case. The U.S. Attorney is not inclined to be lenient. What about my father? My sister? Your father accepted and used money he believed was yours, given to him by your mother. Your sister also accepted a check. However, neither of them participated in the initial theft or had knowledge that the money was federal evidence. They'll likely face civil asset forfeiture, will reclaim the money they received, but criminal charges are unlikely unless we find evidence they conspired with your mother. They didn't. Mom acts alone when she decides she knows what's best. Vance made a note. Your father's account at Community Credit Union has been frozen. The medical bills he paid will be reversed and those funds reclaimed. Your sister's check has been stopped. We're tracking down the cash your mother withdrew. Approximately $35,000 is unaccounted for. She probably gave it to David, my brother. He's been struggling financially. We'll investigate. Any funds we can't recover will be added to your mother's restitution requirements. Vance looked up from her notes. Miss Chen, I need you to understand something. Your mother didn't just steal from you. She compromised an investigation that we've spent 2 years building. The money in that account was the final piece of evidence we needed to prove that Richard Vance, she paused, no relation despite the name, was actively laundering money through seemingly legitimate individual accounts. Your cooperation has been invaluable. But now we have to prove in court that the money your mother stole was evidence in an active federal case, and that means exposing your role as an informant. I knew that would happen eventually. Yes, but it's happening sooner than planned. The Prestige trial is scheduled for 3 months from now. Your identity as the informant will be revealed when your mother's case goes to trial. Prestige's attorneys will use this. They'll claim evidence tampering, suggest the investigation was compromised. It complicates things. Kowalski interjected. We still have everything we need to convict Vance and the others at Prestige. Your mother's theft actually helps us in some ways. It proves the account was real, active, and functional. It wasn't just a honeypot. Real people with real access could interact with it, which makes it a more credible money laundering vehicle. So my mother accidentally strengthened your case? Ironically, yes. But she still committed multiple felonies in the process. The arraignment was the next day. I didn't attend, but Agent Kowalski sent me updates. My mother pled not guilty. Her court-appointed attorney argued that she'd accessed an account she'd been a joint holder on for 15 years, taking money she believed belonged to her daughter to help family members in need. The prosecutor countered that the account was clearly active with substantial deposits from external sources, that my mother had no authorization to access funds, and that her subsequent distribution of the stolen money constituted money laundering regardless of her knowledge of its source. Bail was set at $500,000. My father couldn't pay it. The house was mortgaged, his savings had been seized as evidence, and no bail bondsman would touch a federal case of this magnitude. My mother stayed in custody. Rachel called me 17 times that day. I finally answered. Sarah, you have to help her. I can't. She's our mother. She's in jail. She's in jail because she stole $250,000 from a federal investigation. She thought it was your money. She was trying to help the family. Rachel, Mom had no right to take that money even if it was mine. The account was in my name. I'm an adult. She accessed it without my permission, withdrew everything and distributed it. That's theft. The fact that it was federal evidence makes it multiple federal crimes. But she didn't know. The money in that account came from deposits that clearly weren't from my salary. Over the past 3 months, there were transfers of $45,000, $78,000, and $124,000. Does that sound like something I'd have in savings from my job as a victim services coordinator? Mom saw that money and decided it was hers to take. She didn't ask questions because she didn't want the answers. Rachel was crying now. Dad used the money for his medical bills. They're saying he has to pay it back. He can't afford his medication now. The government will work out a payment plan. A payment plan? Sir, he needs insulin. This is insane. He needs insulin that he paid for with stolen money. Yes, it's unfortunate. But the money wasn't his to use. You could have warned us. You could have told Mom not to touch that account. I did tell her. Multiple times. I said the account was off limits. He didn't care. She decided she knew better. Because she's our mother and she was worried about you hoarding money while Dad suffered. Dad has insurance. His co-pays are manageable. Mom was angry that I wasn't giving her money on demand. This wasn't about helping Dad. It was about controlling me. Rachel's voice turned cold. You're really going to let her go to prison? I'm not letting her do anything. She made her choices. Now she's facing the consequences. I hope you can live with yourself. She hung up. The media coverage started 3 days later. Local woman arrested for stealing from federal investigation, ran on the evening news. My mother's mugshot appeared on screen, looking frightened and confused. The reporter explained, Elizabeth Chen, 62, is accused of stealing over $240,000 from what she believed was her daughter's savings account. However, prosecutors say the account was actually being used by federal investigators as part of a money laundering sting operation. Chen faces up to 50 years in prison. The segment included an interview with a legal expert who explained that joint account holders don't necessarily have equal rights to funds, and that unauthorized access can constitute theft, especially when federal evidence is involved. Comments on the news station's Facebook page were mixed. She's a mother trying to help her family. This is prosecutorial overreach. She stole $240,000 and y'all are defending her? My mom didn't have the right to empty my account when I was an adult. The daughter is obviously some kind of federal informant. She set her own mother up. Ma'am, if you see $250,000 in your kid's account and don't ask questions before taking it, that's on you. I didn't read beyond the first dozen comments. My brother David showed up at my apartment a week later. I saw him through the peephole and didn't open the door. Sarah, I know you're in there. Go away, David. Just talk to me for 5 minutes. Please. I opened the door but kept the chain lock engaged. What? Mom's bail got reduced to $100,000. We're trying to scrape together enough for a bondsman. Can you help? No. Sarah, come on. She's our mother. She's a federal criminal. Because of you. You were working with the feds and didn't tell us. You let her walk into a trap. I let her make her own choices. I told her multiple times not to access that account. She did it anyway. Because she was worried about you. Because Dad needed help. David, did you get money from her? He hesitated. She gave me $15,000. To catch up on rent and car payments. That money has to be returned to the federal government. I already spent it. Then you'll owe it back. The Treasury Department is tracking down everyone who received funds. You'll probably have to set up a payment plan. I can't afford a payment plan. I'm barely making rent as it is. You can't afford it because you have a gambling problem that you've refused to address. Mom enabling you by giving you stolen money doesn't help you, David. It just delays the consequences. His face reddened. You're really something, you know that? You sit here all high and mighty working with the feds, letting your own mother get arrested. Did Mom tell you where the money came from? She said it was from your savings. Did she tell you how I supposedly saved $247,000 on a victim services coordinator salary? I don't. I make $52,000 a year, David. Before taxes. Did you think about how I supposedly had that much money? Or did you just take it because it was convenient? He stared at me. Everyone in this family saw what they wanted to see. Mom saw money she could control. Dad saw medical bills getting paid. Rachel saw financial relief. You saw rent money. Nobody asked the obvious question. Where did it come from? Because asking meant you might not get to keep it. That's not fair. It's completely fair. Mom accessed an account that wasn't hers, took money she had no right to, and distributed it to people who didn't question the source. Now everyone's facing consequences. That's not my fault. She's our mother. And she's a thief. Both things are true. David left without another word. The Treasury Department investigation moved quickly. Within 2 weeks, they traced every dollar my mother had taken. $50,000 withdrawn in cash, $15,000 to David recovered through wage garnishment plan, $10,000 to my father repayment pending, $25,000 unaccounted for, assumed spent, added to restitution. $80,000 in checks, $25,000 to Rachel, checks stopped, funds frozen, $35,000 to a church charity, funds reclaimed, $20,000 to David, second payment also stopped. $117,350 transferred to my father's account. Funds seized. Total recovered, $222,350. Total unrecovered, $25,000, presumed spent, added to restitution. My mother's attorney tried to negotiate a plea deal. The U.S. Attorney's Office offered, plead guilty to all charges, 10 years in federal prison, full restitution of $247,350 plus investigative costs of $73,000, total $320,350. My mother refused. She wants to go to trial, Agent Kowalski told me during one of our regular updates. Her attorney thinks she can convince a jury that she was a concerned mother who didn't understand what she was doing. It's a terrible strategy. The evidence is overwhelming. When's the trial? 4 months. It'll be after the Prestige trial, which actually works in our favor. We'll have already proven the money laundering operation, so the context for your mother's theft will be established. Has she tried to contact me? Multiple times. Letters, attempted phone calls. We've advised you not to respond. I won't. Sarah, Kowalski's voice was gentle. How are you doing? This can't be easy. I'm fine. You're allowed to not be fine. If I think too hard about it, I'll fall apart. So I'm not thinking about it. I'm doing my job, following instructions and waiting for this to be over. That's compartmentalization. That's survival. The Prestige Financial Group trial was a media sensation. Richard Vance and 5 other executives were charged with embezzling $14 million from client accounts and laundering it through elaborate shell corporation networks. My testimony as the confidential informant was devastating. I documented everything, recorded conversations, copied files. The evidence included proof that they'd used my account as one of dozens of pass-through vehicles, believing it was a legitimate personal account that would never be scrutinized. The money my mother had stolen was directly tied to 3 specific shell corporations that Vance controlled. All 6 defendants were convicted. Vance got 23 years. The others received sentences ranging from 8 to 15 years. Prestige Financial Group was dissolved, assets seized, and victims received restitution. I received a whistleblower reward of $2.1 million, 15% of the recovered funds. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was now actually wealthy while my mother sat in jail for stealing money I'd never really had. My mother's trial was almost anticlimactic after the Prestige spectacle. Her attorney tried the concerned mother defense, painting her as a loving parent worried about her daughter's mental health and financial irresponsibility. The prosecution showed bank records proving the deposits into my account came from known shell corporations connected to a major money laundering operation. They showed that my mother had accessed the account without authorization, withdrawn and distributed the funds, and made no effort to verify the source of the money before taking it. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing was scheduled for 6 weeks later. I received a letter from my mother the week before. Against my attorney's advice, I opened it. I know you probably won't read this, but I have to try. I was wrong. I understand that now. I had no right to take that money even if I genuinely believed it was yours. I should have asked. I should have questioned where it came from. I should have respected your boundaries. But I was scared. Your father's medical bills were piling up, and I could see him rationing his medication. David was about to be evicted. Rachel was drowning in debt. And there you were, with all that money sitting in an account, and I truly thought I was helping. I know that doesn't excuse what I did. I know I broke the law. I just need you to understand that I wasn't trying to hurt you. I was trying to save this family. The prosecutor wants me to get 10 to 15 years. The judge could give me more. I'll be 77 when I get out if I survive that long. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect you to help me. I just need you to know that I'm sorry. Not sorry I got caught. Sorry that I violated your trust, your privacy, your autonomy. Sorry that I couldn't see you as an adult capable of making your own decisions. I was a controlling, overbearing mother who thought she always knew best. And now I'm paying the price. I love you even though I have no right to say that anymore. I read the letter 3 times, then put it in a folder with all the other case documents. I didn't respond. The sentencing hearing was packed with media. My mother stood before the judge in an orange jumpsuit, looking frail and scared. Mrs. Chen, the judge began, you've been convicted of theft of federal property, obstruction of justice, and money laundering. These are serious crimes that undermined a major federal investigation and cost taxpayers significant resources. Do you have anything to say before I impose sentence? My mother's voice was barely audible. Your Honor, I made a terrible mistake. I took money that wasn't mine from an account I had no right to access. I did it because I was worried about my family, but that doesn't excuse my actions. I'm deeply sorry for what I've done, and I accept responsibility for my crimes. The judge nodded. Mrs. Chen, the court acknowledges your acceptance of responsibility. However, the severity of your crimes cannot be overlooked. You stole nearly $250,000 from a federal investigation. You distributed that money to multiple people, creating a complex recovery situation. And you did so with a shocking disregard for basic legal and ethical boundaries. She paused. The prosecution has recommended 10 to 15 years. The defense has asked for probation and restitution. Having considered all factors including your age, your lack of criminal history, and your apparent genuine remorse, this court sentences you to 8 years in federal prison, followed by 3 years supervised release, and full restitution of $320,350. My mother collapsed. Bailiffs caught her before she hit the floor. 8 years. My father, sitting in the gallery, made a sound like a wounded animal. Rachel was sobbing. David had his head in his hands. And I sat in the back row watching my mother being helped to her feet and led away and felt absolutely nothing. The appeals process took another 6 months. My mother's sentence was upheld. She was transferred to a federal correctional institution in West Virginia, 3 hours from where my father lived. My father mortgaged the house to pay the first installment of restitution. Rachel and David were on payment plans for the money they'd received. The family was financially devastated. I used part of my whistleblower reward to pay off my father's mortgage and cover his medical expenses for the next 5 years. I did it anonymously through an attorney with the stipulation that he could never know the source. Rachel found out anyway. She always was good at digging and sent me a single text. Blood money. I didn't respond. I visit my mother once a year on her birthday. We sit across from each other in the visiting room, separated by a table and an ocean of consequences. The first year she cried the entire time. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'd nodded. I know. The second year she'd been angry. You could have stopped this. You could have warned me. I did warn you. Multiple times. The third year she'd been resigned. 5 more years. If I survive them. You will. This year, the fourth, she was different. Calmer. Older. Accepting. How's your father? He's okay. Medical bills are manageable now. David. Still struggling, but he's in therapy for the gambling. Making progress. Rachel. Married. Pregnant. She doesn't talk to me. My mother nodded slowly. And you? I'm fine. Are you happy? I thought about that question. I don't know. I did the right thing. Multiple times. I reported fraud at Prestige. I protected federal evidence. I cooperated with the investigation. I watched you get arrested, prosecuted, and sentenced. All the right things. But happy? I shrugged. That seems like a separate question. Do you regret it? No. Do you forgive me? I looked at my mother, gray-haired now, thinner, worn down by federal incarceration. I don't know. Ask me when you get out. 5 more years. 5 more years. We sat in silence until the visiting time ended. People sometimes ask me if I think the punishment fit the crime. If 8 years was too harsh for a mother who thought she was helping her family. I tell them about the prestige victims. People who lost their retirement savings, their children's college funds, their life savings. Because men like Richard Vance decided their wealth mattered more than other people's security. I tell them about the 2 years of investigation, the hundreds of hours of documentation, the careful construction of evidence chains that my mother destroyed in a single morning of self-righteous theft. I tell them that intent matters less than impact, and that I thought I was helping doesn't excuse breaking federal law. Most people nod. Some still look at me like I'm a monster. Both reactions are understandable. I still work as a victim services coordinator. I still help people navigate the aftermath of trauma and crime. I still believe in justice, in consequences, in the rule of law. I also believe that sometimes doing the right thing destroys your family. Both things are true. And I live with that truth every single day, in the space between vindication and grief, between legal victory and personal devastation. My mother stole $247,350 from a federal investigation. I made sure she faced the consequences. The money was recovered. The case was won. Justice was served. And my family will never be whole again. All of it permanent. All of it inevitable. All of it the price of protecting evidence over protecting the people I love. Some days I think that price was worth it. Other days I'm not so sure. But the choice was made years ago when I first agreed to help the federal investigation, when I opened that account and allowed it to be used as evidence, when I kept that secret from my family knowing it might destroy us. I made that choice. And when my mother emptied the account, I made another choice. To activate Operation Blindside, to ensure she faced the full weight of federal law, to protect the investigation over protecting her. Right or wrong, those were my choices. And I live with them every day in the quiet moments between victim consultations, in the silence of my apartment, in the annual visits to a federal prison where my mother counts down the days until release. Justice doesn't care about family loyalty. I learned that lesson. And I taught it to my mother at a cost of 8 years and $320,350. The evidence was protected. The investigation succeeded. My family was destroyed. All of it true. All of it permanent. All of it the inevitable result of my mother's choice to steal and my choice to report it. Some consequences are immediate. Others unfold slowly over years in the faces of family members who look at you like you're a stranger. Both kinds are permanent. Both kinds are justice. And both kinds are the price we pay for protecting what matters, even when what matters destroys the people we love.